Hello, this is Shit You Didn't Know. This is episode 2. I'm Corey.
I'm Logan.
And today we're going to tell you some shit you didn't know. I am currently drinking Shiner Bock in a can, because that's what was offered to me. And it's rude to refuse beer offered to you.
And I just finished, what's it called? St. Arnold's Summer Pills. Which is pretty damn good.
Yeah, it is a Houston area craft beer company. I give them a shot. That's actually the first time I had it too. It's pretty good. We're not saying you have to drink Texas beer just because we are drinking Texas beer, but you know.
And we have pretty good beer.
But we do have pretty good beer here, even if the rest of the population isn't really up to slack sometimes. Yep. Talking to you, Logan Gomer. Talking to you. So, the last episode, wasn't that batshit insane?
It was great.
Okay. Yeah, it was. And so this one's going to be similar. It's kind of right up your alley, kind of right up my alley.
This time gators instead of rattlesnakes, right?
Right. No, not gators. Something a lot more sinister and fucked up. But
I'm down.
So let's start.
Alright.
August 17th, 1959. Vernon Wayne Howell was born in Houston, Texas to a 15-year-old single mother, Bonnie Sue Clark, I'm not making up these names, and a 20-year-old father, Bobby Wayne Howell.
Bobby.
Right, yeah. It's so apparently King of the Hill had a kid in 1959, and
then had another kid.
Yeah, right, exactly. So before Hal was born, his father abandoned his teenage mother for another teenage girl, leaving her to care for her new son alone. Then when Vernon was very young, Bonnie Sue started cohabitating with an older man who was a violent alcoholic. So
there's a theme.
Right. Hitting every stereotype, every one of them. If this was modern day, she would be on Jerry Springer. But it's 1959 and abortions are illegal, so this is just happening and people are cool with it. But
He used a clinic when he got a river.
Right. Right, yes. The Trinity River specifically. Local reference. Because of the circumstances at home, Bonnie Sue sent young Vernon to live with his maternal grandmother, Earlene Clark. Again, not making up this name.
Wait, what was his name?
His name was Vernon. Okay. His mother's name was Bonnie Sue.
Yep.
And his grandmother was named Earlene Clark. I don't know.
Really rolls off the tongue.
How do you hit every stereotype? You literally hit every single one.
Stereotypes got to come from somewhere.
Well, it's a Larry the Cable Guy sketch come to life, really, if you look at it. So Earlene also had 2 children, Kenneth and Sharon, that were close to Vernon's age. And even though Vernon was their uncle, the relationship was more like a sibling relationship. His nephew brother, Kenneth, and him were very close. Later, when Vernon was 7, his mother married a local carpenter. And later, he had a half-brother, Roger. So he had nephew brother Kenneth and niece aunt Sharon. And they would play in the house together, and they got along really well, apparently. He was more like a brother to him than his own brother.
And see, hitting all these stereotypes kind of makes me worry about their oncoming relationship.
You should be, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, that is the sound of me opening up another beer. Anyway, I'm doing the St. Arnold because are we almost done with our hipster beer series? We had Sierra Nevada Torpedo, yep. And this is St. Arnold Summer Pills. And if anybody has another hipster beer they want to recommend, put it in the comments. Maybe we'll try it. Maybe we'll put it on. Maybe your beer will suck and we'll be disappointed in you because you ruined the podcast.
We'll still drink it anyway. Beer's beer.
That's true. Yeah. You know, I went to college. So Vernon had trouble with school from an early age. Again, continuing on that stereotype. He had poor study skills and dyslexia and was put in special education classes at an early age. Despite his dyslexia, Vernon learned how to read phonetically and ended up being an average student. And he began developing a passion for one book above all others.
The Bible?
How'd you know? How'd you know?
Everything's coming together like a puzzle. Look, here's a sky piece.
Oh, fuck. It always, if you're a 10-year-old kid reading the Bible, it's not going to work out for you. Just stop fucking doing it. It's just not.
Talk about a disappointment later.
Read Harry Potter like a normal child, you fucking freak.
God damn it.
Vernon began memorizing scriptures at an early age and would often lecture other classmates with long passages from the Bible that he had memorized. Vernon would do this whether the other children wanted to hear him speak or not. Between this and his learning disabilities, Vernon would often be picked on at school. Figure? Yeah, that was that way. Yeah.
Look, another sky piece.
Oh God, yeah. It's you know what, buddy. It's gonna get so much worse.
Yeah.
You have no idea. So Vernon would lecture other classmates with long passages from the Bible that he had memorized. Vernon would do this whether the other children wanted to hear him speak or not. Between this and his learning disabilities, Vernon would often be picked on at school. I wonder why. Who wouldn't want to be that kid's friend? Hey, I'm just gonna go play ball. Fuck you, heathen!
Go play with your sister, niece.
Jesus. Can I read from you the book of Deuteronomy? No, I'm just gonna go play kickball with the other kids. Please.
All right, everyone. This is what I call revelations.
We don't like you.
And now here's Wonderwall.
Vernon was a lonely child and had few friends, and his mother and stepfather were abusive. Vernon often described his mother hitting him at his own birthday party for acting up. As he entered his teen years, Vernon loved two things: his grandmother's Seventh-day Adventist church and music. The church gave Vernon a stability that he did not have in his home life, and music gave him a creative outlet. He began taking guitar and vocal lessons and became a fan of Aerosmith, Kiss, and Ted Nugent. Vernon said he always felt different than the other kids. He stated that I always saw things differently than the other kids. No one understood me. Reading and writing were like a foreign language. My family life was no fun, and I had no friends. David started to become more involved in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So what do you know about the Seventh-day Adventist Church?
I've heard of it.
So Ben Carson's a member.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that should tell you a lot. Some of them are nice, normal people, and some of them are absolutely fucking crazy. So
There's always those.
yeah, well, for some background, the Seventh-day Adventist Church were an offshoot group of the Millerites, which were followers of a man named William Miller. And at one time, they had 100,000 followers in upstate New York. Miller had predicted that the world would come to an end on October 22nd, 1844. Specifically, that date.
So real quick, you said Miller Lite? Miller Lights?
We are not plugging you, Miller Lite.
Still sounds like a decent religion off the name alone. You gotta at least take him out once.
No, we are on the Hipster Beer series. We are not promoting guys with unironic sideburns beers.
We're already on the stereotype.
You know, I was thinking about doing Pabst Blue Ribbon next, and that kind of crosses both. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, the Miller Lights. I like the Miller Lights, you know, same great tasteless feeling. On that day, see, now I want to call them the Miller Lights when I'm reading this. On that day, the Millerites went on their roofs to see the end of the world. They dressed in their white robes. But as the day came and went, they came down from their houses, and they were disillusioned with the movement because their leader was a fucking liar.
Go figure.
I know, that never happens. This came to be known as the Great Disappointment. Yep. Yep.
Sounds accurate.
Yeah, kind of like, it's a real easy thing to remember. The Great Disappointment, make America great again. Empty sayings.
Kind of like feeling a sneeze that never happens.
Right. Right. Seventh-day Adventists came from this movement. They had a few different teachings from other mainstream Protestant sects. First, their day of Sabbath is on Saturday, not Sunday.
Why take away the good day?
Well, yeah. Well,
Let's be rebels. Take away your party day.
I know, a bunch of fucking assholes.
I didn't have friends, so why do you need friends?
Imagine I'd explain that at work, too. Like, I need Saturdays off. Always. Why? I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. The fuck is that? That's not a real religion. You come in on Saturday, goddammit.
Especially if there's a tent sale.
Yeah, I know. You're as bad as that goddamn Mormon kid in his Sundays. Second, members typically abstain from alcohol and tobacco use. And third, nearly a third of Seventh-day Adventists maintain a vegetarian diet. So yeah, you can't.
Mistakes all around.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no smoking, no drinking, no meat, and you have to go to church on Saturday. Man, why aren't more people doing this?
Man, talk about happiness.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I'm probably going to assume there's a bunch of children in the mix for these people, so at least they probably have some fun.
Oh, it's. Ooh. See, you're gonna hear yourself say that, and look at the context later, and be like, "Oh, God."
Regrets were made.
Yeah. Strap in. As he grew older, Vernon became obsessed with the New Testament, especially the Book of Revelation. This tells the story of Armageddon and the return of Jesus Christ to Earth. By age 14, Vernon also claimed that God spoke to him and that he would see visions of God everywhere. He stated that, "I was fascinated by the scriptures, and even the hokey evangelists I heard on the radio. I knew that the great book was a puzzle of the truth that I had to figure out on my own. I prayed. I said, 'Dear God, I know I'm stupid, but I just want to serve you.' A while later, I heard his voice in my heart, as if we were discussing things directly." So this kid's going to his nighttime window, trying to go to sleep,
and having a book club with God.
Right, exactly. Yeah, are you my mother? That kind of conversation with God.
What did you get from chapter 3?
I got that I should stay home and drink wine. That's what I got from it. That's what I think of every book club.
It's the blood of Christ, so hey. I'm just praying.
Oh, man. Despite being an average student, Vernon Howe dropped out of Garland High School in his junior year and got away from the church. For the next few years, Vernon worked odd jobs doing construction, working as a carpenter, playing with local bands, and dating girls in the area. He saved enough money to buy himself a Chevy Silverado pickup truck and took off to go to Los Angeles to try to be a musician. But after living there for only a few months, he ran out of money and returned home.
Fucking cat.
Your cat is he's an asshole. He's even got, it looks like a little Hitler mustache on his nose. I think that's an indication.
It's actually my sister's roommate cat. I swear he's a ghost of Hitler.
Yeah.
This one just has, like, Hitler's brother in him.
Oh, okay. Well, he is really white, but he's got a little bit of black on him. So there's that self-hating part.
But there's no yarmulke yet, so he doesn't hate himself too much.
Yeah, no, your cat's an asshole. For the next few years, I did that. So he moved to Los Angeles and he tried to be a musician. But after living there for only a few months, he ran out of money and returned home. Vernon was a pretty good guitar player and singer and took lessons when he was younger. He even sang in the Seventh-day Adventist church.
Of course he would.
right? Well, he was just doing it to get laid. Let's be honest. He didn't really, he didn't really believe that stuff at the time.
My sister niece really like this song.
When Vernon was 22, he impregnated his 15-year-old girlfriend, but she decided that she didn't want to be a mother. She had an abortion and broke up with Vernon. This left Vernon depressed and disillusioned with his place in life. But later, Vernon said that God spoke to him, and Vernon became born again. How does that work? It seemed like he kind of dodged a bullet there. I don't know why he was so disillusioned and depressed. I mean, imagine having a kid with a 15-year-old kid. Oof. No. If he was praying to God to keep it, he was making the wrong decision.
See, what's funny is they were so worried about abortion back then, but this dude banged a 15-year-old.
Right, yeah, exactly. And keep thinking of that because you're gonna get more fucked up.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of, you're seeing a theme to my stories. After Vernon said God spoke to him, he began worshiping at a Dallas area Southern Baptist church. Later became smitten with the preacher's teenage daughter. He later told the preacher that God had told him that he wanted to marry his daughter, and that he was inspired by Isaiah 34:16, which states that none should want for her mate. This did not go over well with the preacher. Soon, he asked Vernon to stay away from his daughter, but Vernon kept resisting. And then he eventually kicked Vernon out of the congregation.
Please tell me you beat him with the Bible.
I hope so.
Get out of here, heathen!
But I just want to fuck your daughter. Come on. I love God.
Please tell me she's 15.
I mean, she's a little old, but I'll compromise. Vernon then went back to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. In 1982, Vernon joined the Branch Davidians. They were an offshoot of the modern Seventh-day Adventist Church. This branch was started by Ben Roden in 1955 and would open their own compound in Mount Carmel, a small town outside of Waco, Texas. Ben died in the 70s, and now his wife, Lois, and son George were in charge of the compound.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yep, never good.
I just heard Waco, and now shit's slowly coming together.
Right. So this was before you were born, and but it was. I vaguely remember it, kind of. I remember the Oklahoma City bombing very well, but I don't really remember Waco that well. But it was.
Are we getting into the Koresh? I'm excited.
Vernon then went back to this. Wait, I did that. In 1983, Vernon began claiming the gift of prophecy and started having a sexual relationship with Lois Roden, who at the time was 63 years old. Oh.
At least she ain't 15.
Oh, God.
Either like a raw or well done.
Oh,
nothing
fuck.
in between.
Oh, dude. Oh. Like, no, when I read that, I was just like...
So you did that for the 63, but not the 15? I'm worried, Corey.
You're not wrong. No, it's all gross, but I don't know. That's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just comparing Vernon to Elvis. So
probably like fucking
or Ted Nugent. Yeah. Well, yeah, he's, well, it gets worse. Vernon claimed that God had chosen him to father a child with Roden, who was in her 60s.
Yeah, that's possible.
Right. Yes.
The Lord wills it. It'll happen.
God. If he doesn't know anything about what a menstrual cycle is, I mean, you would think that the woman who's not having them would be like, baby, I know you want a child, but it just can't happen.
I mean, he's already filled with so much disappointment. She probably doesn't want to let him down anymore.
Oh, God. It's...
Why stop the only person who wants to do it? It gives him a goal and a mission.
Oh, Jesus. I'm just imagining a game him going through gray bed sheets. You're welcome, whoever just listened to that. Vernon thought that I'm still thinking about it. Vernon thought that once he had a child with Roden, the child would be known as the chosen one. Roden then began to let Vernon Howell preach at the compound and gave him more power. This caused controversy with her son and others in the group. Lois's son, George Roden, intended to be the group's next leader and looked at Vernon Howell as an interloper and an intruder. Vernon's relationship with Roden allowed him to carve out a following in the group and give him more power. Yeah, so he was essentially he was fucking her, and then
so he pulled like a religious interception on that one.
Kind of, yes. He's kind of taking it away from the son, like, and you know the old lady's like,
he's fucking me, so it doesn't matter.
Right, yeah, and the son just doesn't want to hear any of it. I'm sure.
Well, yeah, probably just as much as you don't want to hear about it.
Oh God, gosh. I still can't. Vernon then announced to the group that God had spoke to him and wanted him to take a wife that he could have children with, because apparently he just figured out that Roden couldn't give him kids, so this is what he's doing. He said God told him to marry Rachel Jones, the 14-year-old daughter of Perry Jones, one of David's biggest followers. Vernon was 27, but at the time in Texas, it was legal to marry at 14 with the parents' permission.
Of course it was.
Well, you know, we're all about freedom here. Yeah.
Drinking of Miller Lite, anything's gonna be legal.
Yeah, I love that. You can barely get into a PG-13 movie, but you're still cool with some sweaty 30-year-old guy on top of you. Under the context
if
of
it's
marriage.
real, is it really rated R?
Oh, Jesus Christ. You can't you can't even get into a rated R movie about fucking, but you can actually do it with your husband. I mean, how are you maintaining a conversation with a 14-year-old girl after that happens?
It's easy. Want to do it? I'm kidding. That's nasty.
It is. So Perry actually went to the courthouse with David, and and Perry's wife went to the courthouse with David and totally signed off on this marriage and thought it was a great idea that a 27-year-old man should, marry a 14-year-old girl.
Oh, this is a beautiful couple.
Yeah, a beautiful couple.
By the grace of God.
Yeah, is that your daughter? Oh.
Talk about blinding revelation.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, no kidding. Following these events, there was a short time of peace at the compound. That didn't last. George Roden was becoming more hostile with Vernon, and the relationship between Vernon and Lois began to deteriorate. Vernon began trying to undermine George and Lois, even going as far as to burn down the group's publishing building so they couldn't get their message out. There's passive aggressive, and then there's
burning down a building.
Right, burning down a goddamn
building.
It's
a very thin line.
Yeah, and so apparently also that George was starting to try to sue Vernon and accusing him in court of raping his mom, but she wouldn't appear in court and say anything bad against Vernon, so it was kind of going nowhere. But imagine the humility of having to take a guy to a court so that you can get your rightful stuff from a guy younger than you fucking your mother. Imagine the judge was just like, you should see the crazy shit I just saw.
Imagine the person that has to write all this shit down. Keep it on record. Talk about memoir.
That poor stenographer. I don't know, how they're typing and they hear this stuff in the court.
And they just don't burn the page right there.
Or they don't just turn to the rest of the family and be like, you guys are fucked up. You know that?
Like, you write those. You fucking kid, really?
I've seen a lot of court dates in here, and this is just beyond fucked up. You guys need some professional help.
Because religion ain't helping.
In 1984, George Roden, claiming to have the backing of a majority of the group, forcibly removed Vernon and his biggest followers off the property at gunpoint. Vernon and 25 followers then set up their own compound in Palestine, Texas. They lived there for 2 years in buses and tents and survived immediately. Isn't Palestine where the prison is?
I believe so.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? You're going to a prison with a cult. It's just...
Hey, talked about people who've forgotten.
I know. Excuse me. They lived there for 2 years in buses and tents and survived. At this time, Vernon began traveling the world looking for more followers to bring back. He went to California, the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Israel. While in Israel, he claimed that he saw a vision in the sky that proclaimed that he was the new King Cyrus.
Are you sure it just wasn't a plane?
No, it's.
Oh, there's a line in the sky that kind of looks like a V.
Well, I think when you're
Vernon.
this full of shit, you can just see anything and make it anything you want. And if people are that fucking dumb, they'll believe you. And that's what it looks like is happening. So Vernon,
Capitalism.
yeah, exactly, capitalism. So apparently Vernon, he was a guitar player. He really liked rock music. You know, he could really connect with younger people, and he would go all around the world. He actually got some converts to come back with him. They sold their house, they brought their family, and they went to Waco, Texas. Some of these people came from Australia. I don't know what kind of bullshit.
It's a rock and roll feature. Let's go to Waco.
Right, yeah. This is like it's amazing too, just the shit that wouldn't happen today, because they could look at Waco, Texas on Google Maps and be like, I'm not fucking going here. This is not where I want to be.
You start hearing a banjo and you got a pretty mouth. You need to turn around.
Right. You
entered Waco.
I was just in Sydney, Australia, but you know what? I'm leaving. This place is boring. I'm going to Waco, Texas. Have a good one.
All they got out there is just like 3 venomous snakes. And they're not dancing with them.
And we have Texas A&M next door. And Baylor University. Yeah. Those are great schools. So, after he did that, Vernon returned to Texas, and he took 2 more wives, aged 14 and 12. He was now officially a polygamist.
Not even a polygamist. The statutory rapist.
Right. Yeah. It's fucked up. So, yes, he now has 3 wives, 14, 14, and 12. Or, sorry, 15, 14, and 12. One of these wives was Rachel Jones' younger 12-year-old sister. So this dude not only
keep it in the family.
Right. Yeah. How much power do you have to have over somebody to be like, okay, well, I know I'm fucking one of your underage daughters. Can I fuck another one?
Talk about like trying to convince your other wife of that. Hey, I like you so much. Let's bring your sister into the fold.
Oh God, that never works out well. Never. So, Lois Roden died in 1986, leaving George in charge of the compound. The followers in Palestine publicly wondered if they would ever be able to return to Mount Carmel. Vernon Howell assured them that they would. By 1987, George's leadership and support were in decline, and more Davidians began leaving and joining Vernon Howell's sect. This infuriated George. To regain the support of his flock, he challenged Vernon to a contest to raise the dead. Yeah, so I read that, and I was like, what the fuck?
And now begins Evil Dead.
Right. So, he did this to show his own spiritual supremacy and show everyone that Vernon was a fraud and didn't have any powers, as opposed to him, apparently, you know. Yeah, he went to a local graveyard and exhumed Anna Hughes, a devoted 84-year-old follower who had died 20 years before. He brought the casket into the compound and challenged Vernon to bring Anna back to life. Well, so at what point are you in the cult and you're looking at your leader and you're looking at a leader from a nearby compound and they're bringing a fucking dead body into a church? What point do you go, this is fucked up. What am I doing? No, they're gonna have a Raise the Dead contest. Two grown men.
Cheaper than the movies.
Oh God, it's something out of a bad movie. Like, yeah, Evil Dead.
Right. Just no dude with the chainsaw on his hand.
Well, maybe later. Who knows? Who knows what happens?
It is in Waco.
Yeah. So he did this to show his own spiritual. Anyway, after they brought the casket into the compound, and he was challenged. Vernon was stunned. Someone had found a way to out crazy him, which I don't know how that happens. But this gave Vernon an idea.
Talk about calling a bluff.
I know, right? No, he must have been like, oh my God, this motherfucker's insane. I know I'm marrying 12-year-olds, but, you know.
Y'all don't know about the deal we made, but this dude fucking dug up a body. Do you really want to follow him?
Well, you're fucking 12-year-olds.
But she's alive.
Right. That's different. He's got a point. He's got a point there. You think Vernon was looking at the casket and be like, oh, yeah, Lois felt good. Maybe this one. Maybe this one would be even better.
Anyone got a heater?
I've been on the left hash. Let's try the right hash now. God. So in Texas, it was against the law to desecrate a burial site. And Vernon was looking for a way to make George go away. He promptly told local authorities about it, but they didn't want to search private property or become involved in a kooky religious dispute between two lunatics. Wow, that is incredibly reasonable from Texas cops. It's
right.
like
they probably dealt with this shit before.
Right,
like, we don't want it again.
They promptly told him that they needed evidence to do anything. So Vernon then prepared his followers for a raid on the compound. They armed themselves with assault rifles and dressed in night gear and camo. Promptly went onto the compound. Vernon's group was discovered by George Roden, and a gunfire broke out. By the time the sheriff arrived, Roden was wounded and pinned down near a tree. Vernon and his followers were arrested and charged with attempted murder. They went to trial, but they were all later acquitted of all charges, and they were eventually let go. Vernon then took 3 more wives. One was 16 years old. In 1988, George was then arrested on an unrelated attempted murder charge. With no one in charge, so apparently somebody tries to shoot him, and then George tries to murder someone else on top of it. And, you know, this guy's leading the cult before, and it seems like Vernon is actually a better option at this point.
Little do they know.
Right.
Little do I know.
Yeah. Well, you'll see it in a second. With no one in charge at Mount Carmel, the group's finances went into disarray and thousands of dollars in back taxes were owed. Vernon officially took control of the Mount Carmel branch and was able to raise enough money to pay the back taxes due on the property. Roden continued to harass Vernon by filing legal papers and threatening to expose him in court. When Vernon and the rest of his followers moved back into the Mount Carmel site, they found a meth lab in it. The police removed it.
First story was moonshine. Now they got meth.
Oh yeah. So apparently, George couldn't pay his bills, so he was renting the compound out to just random people, and he didn't go and check on them or anything, and probably knew they were drugs.
Why didn't he just talk to his book club buddy? He could probably help him.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
Hey, God, can you lend me a 20?
Hey man, I need to. How much meth you got? I need to raise somebody back from the dead.
Shit, how much you want for the meth?
So, despite this, Roden was still not able to pay all the back taxes that were owed. In 1989, George Roden murdered Wayman Adair with an axe. And that's how you fuck somebody up. You fucking murder him with a goddamn axe. This isn't some pussy shit. He didn't go in and shoot him. He murdered him with an axe. He did this after convincing himself that Adair was working for Vernon Howell. Roden was convicted of murder and spent the rest of his life in a psych hospital, dying in 1998.
Just makes me think of some call it a Kaiser blade, I call it a sling blade.
He kind of does have that vibe to him, doesn't he? It's like this weird relationship with his mother, and yeah, it has a little bit of a sling blade vibe to it. So, in 1989, while in California, Vernon had his name legally changed to David Koresh.
And here we are.
Yeah. The name came from King David of Israel, and Koresh, the biblical name of Cyrus the Great.
Going back to that vision.
Right. So now he's David Koresh. But honestly, you know why he really changed it? I mean, imagine having to go all around the world and preach the gospel, try to get people to come into your cult, and be inspirational, and the first thing you have to say is, "Hi, my name's Vernon."
He's rocking. He's probably just like, I need a stage name.
Yeah.
What's it gonna be?
My name's Vernon, and my mama was Bonnie Sue, and my father was Bobby Wine, and I got a nephew, brother.
I'll go from lower caste white to middle. I'll be David.
it's just it's weird because he went from so white trash to just a weird name.
Almost cultural.
Yeah, just slightly cultural.
Your last name's Koresh?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, like somebody's Portuguese, you know,
from
kind
a
of.
vision.
So, shortly after changing his name, Koresh announced that he had an important revelation from God that he called the New Light. You know what the New Light is? What do you think it is?
I'm
You think it
assuming it's not
involves
his new
him?
fleshlight.
You think it involves him fucking underage kids?
It's very possible. What is it?
See,
10?
you're following along. In it, Koresh decreed that marriages were now officially dissolved, that the men would have to be celibate, that he had a right to at least 140 wives, and that all the women in the compound would only have sex with him.
That's just too much nagging.
Oh, it's imagine it just, you know, you're a guy and you're in this cult. Maybe your wife dragged you into it.
Maybe he just likes self-depreciation so much.
He's like it's like a sadist. It's like you're taking everything. They can't even eat fucking meat, for Christ's sakes. There's like, imagine a
masochism
dude,
to a whole new level.
Yes. I mean, imagine a guy and he just like, you know, he's sitting there with his kids and his wife's like, "Honey, I want to join this cult." And he's like, "I don't fucking want to join the cult." And she's like, "I want to join the cult." So they get on a plane and they go join the cult, and they get in the cult, and they were like, "You know, honey, this guy's fucked up. I don't."
By the way, you can't fuck him anymore. Like, talk about stacking the deck to get what you want.
It's right. It's just
because what guy's gonna go? Wait, you can't eat meat, you can't drink, you can't smoke, and I can't even fuck my wife anymore. I'm in.
And I have to give you all my money. That's the other thing. They had to give him all his money.
At least I don't have to put a tenner in that bucket every Sunday.
Oh, jeez.
Or Saturday now.
It brings to the term. What's the word that the crazy alt-right people cuck? It brings cuck to a new dimension. So, yeah, 140 wives. He wanted 140 wives. Apparently, he thought he was the new Solomon. That's what that was. I'd rather have one wife and 139 girlfriends. I don't get the 140 wives.
Talk about alimony. I mean, like.
Oh yeah. Oh, and yeah, he wanted to repopulate. So he claimed that God wanted him to repopulate the earth, and then he needed to have plenty of offspring with as many men as he could. Koresh even chastised the men who did not agree to this. He put the men and women on two different floors and forbade contact between the sexes except during Bible study. He also began talking to girls as young as 9 about sexually explicit content. He claimed that he was grooming the girls to be future wives and mothers of his children. What a fucked up human being.
Well, grooming him from a month from then.
Right, yeah. It's just,
he went to 12.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna have a limit.
It's sickening. It's really, as you get, it gets worse. Besides being the only man who could have sex, he also drank single malt scotch while the other members abstained from alcohol. He ate meat while everyone else had a vegetarian diet, and he stayed in the only air-conditioned room. He was also the only man allowed to stay on the top floor with the women. This behavior caused some of the members to leave, but most ended up staying. A group of 20 called the Mighty Men. Does that not sound like a Cartoon Network show?
Check out Marvel's new comic line, The Mighty Men.
19 guys who can't have sex with their wives and are always angry. I can't even have a goddamn steak.
Is that how the Hulk was born?
In addition from restricting, and also he would do this crazy shit, like he would restrict them from a week from eating sugar. Or he would say, like, you can't eat an apple and an orange together. You have to eat them in separate meals.
No, you can't have sugar.
Right, he's just making up fucking rules. He's just like, I want to see
and
these...
an apple or an orange is satanic.
Yeah.
So stay away from that. You eat them separately.
No bananas, especially down there.
Except you're from one of the 140, then you're good.
I bet the cucumber was a very popular vegetable with the women, and also maybe some of the men. They just didn't
plus electrolytes to kind of re-energize you.
Right, exactly. You can do anything with a cucumber. You can put it in a salad. You can put it in an asshole. Whatever.
Let it sit in water.
Most versatile vegetable on earth.
Put it on your eyes and forget about what David Koresh did to you.
Yep. And as the Catholic Church says, there is no wrong hole.
Unless you're married, then there's only one right hole. So
the Mighty Men, which still sounds like a fucking cartoon.
It really does. Sounds like they're about to break out in a song. We're the Mighty Men.
No. We can't have sex with our wives and we can't eat meat.
How many of them just grouped up together and said, this is it? Jeremy, bend over.
I mean, how do you not want to kill yourself at this point? You can't fuck your wife. You have to let some other dude fuck your wife.
And you can't eat apple and oranges together.
You can't eat meat.
What kind of life is that?
You can't eat meat, and you're in the Mighty Men. How much worse can it possibly get?
The name alone probably kept them there.
Oh, God. I am a member of the Mighty Men. Maybe I am important.
I'm a super cook.
So the Mighty Men were the most important members of the group. They were responsible for the upkeep of the compound and the general well-being of the group. They were responsible for training the other members to use assault weapons and for doing the day-to-day tasks in the compound. Yeah, so the most important guys were teaching the kids how to use assault weapons. We're the Mighty Men.
The only reason why they wanted men was just as a defense force. The government's gonna come for us. And my 140 wives, so even though you can't bang them, will you protect us?
We're the Mighty Men and we're okay.
We sleep all day.
David's upstairs fucking my wife all day.
He probably has to take shifts.
Oh, yeah.
First 20 Monday, next 20 Tuesday.
God. Imagine David coming out and talking to the Mighty. God, I'm exhausted. He's up there fucking your wife all night. My balls are chafed in the Texas sun.
I like what you taught her, though. You did good, son.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad you and her had a good time. Oh, yeah, we had a good time.
I bet you have these people who were, like, genuinely excited about it. Like, I am so happy she pleased you, sir.
How old's your daughter, by the way? 11. I'll be seeing her soon.
My daughter turns 8 in 2 months.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be talking to her. So, is that what Jared from Subway sounds like sometimes, you think?
Except it would be complete opposite. The wives would be and the kids would be terrified. Oh no! I don't want no cold cuts.
Oh, and by the way, if you're offended by jokes about child molestation,
we apologize, but
I don't apologize.
History.
Yeah, I don't apologize. I'm just saying what's happening. Oh, and by the way, stop going to Catholic Mass if you're so appalled by it. And burn your Ted Nugent records.
He would never do it. It said in every church. Especially the ones where it happened.
Right, yeah. So yeah, I got that out. So the most important member of the compound was Douglas Wayne Marin. Him and his wife lived on the compound with 4 of his 7 children in Mount Carmel. He was a Harvard-educated lawyer and practiced law in town. He was close with Waco's city councilmen and county judges. He was known to be morally upright, congenial, and selfless. He gladly turned over his earnings to the Branch Davidians. He was known to be caring and devoted father, and he largely handled the mounting legal issues for the compound. On the other hand, Steve Schmidt was the other important mighty man. Again, can't stop picturing an action figure. A sexless, meatless action figure.
It's like Justice League, but everyone's Superman, but there's no Lois Lane.
They're so angry.
Superman and Lex Luthor just decided, we're done with this shit. Let's get together and make the Mighty Men.
I mean, what is the connection between no sex and assault rifles?
You clone little rascals.
Oh, God.
No women allowed!
The He-Man woman haters. The Seventh-day Adventist Church. They're in there playing Legos all day. So, Steve was the opposite of Douglas. He was kind of cold and distempered, and you know, he was charged of the security of.
Well, he didn't get no ass, so of
Oh,
course.
right, yeah. I'm surprised the other guy's so happy. So, he was fiercely loyal to David, despite Koresh taking his wife as one of his lovers. God, what a stab in the back.
She's proving her family proud, I'll tell you that.
He thought Koresh had special powers, and that, yeah, he has a special power. He convinced you that fucking his wife and taking all your money is a good idea.
The original Mrs. Steal Your Girl.
Yeah. So he thought that because of the special powers and that his decision should never be questioned. He owned some of the Branch's businesses, including a recording studio where Koresh recorded the song "Madman" in Waco. Yes.
First of the Mighty Men, and now
Madman in Waco. It is a real song, and I'm gonna play it for everyone.
What's with the cultists like loving rock and roll? First it was Manson, and then also Charles.
Well,
David Koresh.
Well, they actually compared David Koresh a little bit to Charles Manson, except that
you can kind of see, except David Koresh had a bigger.
They said Koresh was a narcissist, whereas Manson was a psychopath.
Yeah.
Because David is just doing all this because he wants to fuck kids. I mean, let's everything.
He wants to feed the machine.
Everything leads to fucking kids. Everything. With Charles Manson, it was a little bit more psychotic. You know, he just wanted to have his, single malt scotch and people listen to his stupid shit and be able to fuck kids. That's what he wanted to do in the end. Anyway, so
Still so fucked.
Yeah, Madman in Waco. It is a real song recorded by David Koresh.
Please tell me it's from the study. Please go.
So do you just imagine David sitting there and like with a leather glove and just like pumping while he's singing?
All I can think about is how his next song is probably the Pokemon theme song. Instead of counting all of them, he just counts all 140 of his wives.
Well, there's a Too Short song that's actually kind of similar to that. We're just going through all the women he slept with, but yeah, David Koresh could do the same thing, but it'd be like boring and white and all like Bobby Joe, like women that named like
there
that.
Was Bobby Joe, Karen, Sharon.
Oh, so God, that was awful, wasn't it? That was just so cheesy.
It sounded like it would be in a fighting montage, though.
Yeah, no, it sounds
like a training montage further.
Like an '80s, like a bad late '80s film.
It's the song for the Mighty Men. It's their theme song.
My man living in Waco. The mighty man.
You just see him like doing the whole Mulan routine, but with like assault weapons and just guys. Oh, make a man out of you.
We don't have sex or eat meat, we're the mighty men. Someone shoot us in the fucking head, we're mighty men. As the group looked to gain additional income, they became involved in arms dealing. And they would go all around Texas going to gun shows and buying weapons in bulk because, you know, when you're in Texas and you hear gun, I think everyone gets a little bit of a stiffy, don't they?
Probably a little bit. You at least see them walking a little funny after you say AK.
Gun show? Where?
Smith & Wesson. Where is the closest restroom?
I got a first date that I got to take a girl out. I'm gonna press her. Where's the gun show?
What's the biggest bullet you got? I don't need it for her. I need it for me.
Yeah, for those of you who are not listening, or who are not listening in Texas, or don't know anything about the state, that stereotype specifically about guns, that is true. Everything else, you know, we don't wear chaps to school, and you know.
4th of July just sounds like a normal day in Chicago.
Right.
But you know, it's just white people shooting the sky, going America.
That fucking gun thing, God. Even the liberals here have guns. It's kind of insane.
Well, they kind of need to protect them from the rest of the population.
These fuckers are crazy. I'm buying a gun.
They're not dumb. Even though like guns are bad.
Yeah.
I still need to protect myself and my family.
Well, it's
especially
just
my 12-year-old daughter.
Right. So they're just a part of the culture, and they're really easy to sell in Texas. So the Davidians would go around gun shows in Texas, selling weapons, making a profit that way. They actually made a pretty substantial profit.
The gun shows must have loved them.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh shit, the Davidians are coming. Everyone, get out your best stock.
Yeah, he's gonna bring his 12-year-old wife. It's gonna be insane, man. So, as guns were easy to sell in Texas, it was also very unregulated. Imagine that, right? I'm sure that's not leading to problems.
Sounds like shit's going hand in hand on that.
Right. Yep. As they bought assault rifles, AR-15s, and hand grenades, as well as then they also collected materials to make homemade bombs. The more weapons that the Davidians began to acquire, the more the ATF began keeping tabs on them. As more guns were going in and out of the compound, Koresh became paranoid about the federal government investigating his church. He began carrying a Glock everywhere, even sleeping with one under his bed.
And see, the gun show like people are probably just like, or even like the weapons do. They're just like, oh, they're from Texas. They're either getting ready for New Year's, Cinco de Mayo, or 4th of July.
Or a fucking wedding sometimes for some of these people.
Right? They're just making fireworks. They'll be fine.
So, have you ever seen NRA TV by any chance? Or like any clips from it? You should just check it out. It's just... It's unreal. It's unreal.
Please tell me the host is Ted Nugent.
No, the host is not Ted Nugent. It's somebody named Dana Loesch, who's even more self-serving and fake than Ted Nugent. I never thought. And crazy. Yeah, there's more layers. And also, she lives in Southlake, by the way, in a gated community.
So you said Dana, and I automatically thought of like the guy from UFC, like a big dude with a Dana. I didn't expect a woman to be.
Yeah. She's
like
she's the spokesman. She's just they just sell shit. I mean, you know, that's all. That's
I don't mean to say like a woman doesn't belong in the NRA. You just don't expect it.
Right. Well, you know, a new image for them. They have to kind of improve on the way things have been.
Yeah, because public relations really haven't been that good recently.
Well, what gets me is she goes on TV and talks about like the elites, and I'm like, you live in Southlake, Texas. it's an entire gated community. Let's drop that charade. You know, you're not one of the elites. So yeah, he started getting really paranoid. He started carrying Glock everywhere, and when he went to bed, he did the whole salute where, this is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fun, and this is for fun.
Arlie Ermey's just in the corner, just like,
got my
I
Glock.
don't approve, but Here we go.
Got my Glock, got my cock, got my Glock, got my cock. I'm ready for bed. Hey, honey, why don't you lay down?
I agree with Private Snowball, but now I got Private Pedophile.
So, yeah, obviously they kept buying these weapons, and they kept buying more. So they started being put on the ATF watch list. Koresh knew that once outside forces saw what he was doing in the compound, that he would be in a lot of trouble. You know, with all the child fucking and everything. He started telling the compound members that the end times were coming, and that the 7 seals would be open. That he is the prophet, and that he is the prophet that would bring this to fruition, and they should prepare themselves spiritually. He began telling them that the outsiders would be coming for them, that they should prepare. And also, he told the women to prepare, but he meant put in a diaphragm.
God damn it.
So one day, a USPS driver delivered a ripped package to the compound. The package opened, and the driver noticed that it was a box of fucking grenades. Just get a box of grenades delivered to you.
Who needs DHL? You could just send that through the USPS.
Yes, I know. He immediately notified federal authorities about what he just saw. Thanks, mailman.
Maybe you should have done it through DHL.
Maybe. Between the grenades, the ammo, all the guns, and the rumors of statutory rape and child abuse in the compound, the FBI and ATF started to become very interested in Koresh's activities and began compiling evidence to obtain a warrant. One of the former cult members also told local authorities that Koresh was having sex with girls as young as 11 at the compound, so local law enforcement was also watching him as well. The ATF and FBI became incensed by the reported sexual abuse in the compound and were driven to act quickly to stop Koresh. In January 1993, the ATF moved 4 agents across from the compound and had them pose as college students. The problem was that agents were all in their 30s or 40s. They were never going to class, and they were constantly moving professional surveillance equipment into the building. So, how much did they fuck up on that? Yeah.
That was botched.
We're just college kids. We're going to Baylor University. You know, I'm studying to be a preacher. Yeah, you know.
The real story behind 21 Jump Street.
So, hey, how you doing? We're your neighbors. We're college kids. Yeah, we're so what are you majoring in? You know,
communications.
Yeah, communications.
Hey, you want to come to this frat party? Just don't worry about the mics. It's for a communications major.
All right. You want me to bring my wife?
Which one?
You know, my wife. Is she hot? All right, maybe don't bring my wife. So. Oh yeah, they were super stealth about that. One of the agents was Robert Rodriguez, who began regularly attending services at the compound. His job was to keep an eye on any stockpiles of weapons he happened to see. Between the 4 men across the street and the helicopters flying overhead, Koresh began thinking that the compound would soon be raided. Wonder how he got tipped off.
It was God.
Oh yeah, God.
He heard the voice. Probably in his last book study.
Yeah. Koresh also suspected that Rodriguez was actually an agent. His followers were outraged, but he told them to welcome the agents into the ministry. He wanted the agents to hear his message. Maybe, Koresh thought, he'd get the agents to be on his side.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck with that. So,
they don't want to lose their wives.
Right. So, these 4 guys, they're agents, but it's okay. Just be cool. They're cool. We're going to let them in. We're going to let them in. It's all right. Their wives are hot, so we want them in.
Just talk to them about the rifles and guns. They probably love you.
Also, if you could get a picture of their wives, that'd be great. David would thank you very much. If one of their wives is kind of chubby or, kind of looks weird, has like a fucked up looking face, maybe tell him to go away,
But gimp legs are fine because they're going to be walking funny anyway.
Oh, yeah. David gets done with them, they walk funny.
It'll be the best 15 seconds of their life. That's all the time he has for him to begin with, is 15 seconds. And then on to the next one. Try pleasing 140 women. What the fuck?
You can't even please one woman sometimes. So, and sometimes they really can't please you, can they? It's a yin and yang of it. Rodriguez could not find illegal guns on the compound, but he did say that the Davidians could convert semi-automatic to automatic guns. The ATF requested a no-knock warrant for the compound, and they lied to the federal judge, telling them that a meth lab was in the compound, which it was technically at one point, but to his credit, David did call the police and have it removed. But, so they kind of made that up to get the no-knock warrant. Rodriguez began telling the ATF that Koresh knew that they were being watched and that he knew they were coming. Koresh and his followers had over 400 rifles and handguns. They had bomb-making material, they had bulletproof vests, and they had hand grenades.
I mean, this dude's with so many children, and they had to fake drugs to get a no-knock warrant.
Right. It's so fucked up. Well, it's in Texas. Anything you can hide behind religion on anything, even child fucking.
It's the ATF and the FBI.
Yeah, well, they wanted to go in. They were mad, but you have to, there are constitutional issues behind it, and, you kind of understand that. But at the same time...
Really?
Yeah, it's, they're fucking kids. It's just
because it's constitution, it doesn't...
Well, we'll get to that later.
This is wrong.
So, on February 28th... So, in February 1993, the ATF began moving employees into the area to deal with the logistics. This tipped off Koresh and his followers as ATF employees were flooding the local hotel rooms. Also, good job on the ATF, by the way, being about as subtle as a cockroach crawling across a white rug. That's, what a fuck up on their part for that. Their heart's in the right place, but it's, they fucked up. They fucked up bad. But on February 28th, Koresh's brother-in-law, a local postal employee, began seeing ATF agents gearing up and heading to the compound. He immediately told Koresh. Koresh then promptly told Robert Rodriguez that he knew he was an agent and that he would need to leave soon. Rodriguez warned the ATF that Koresh knew they were coming and that they were armed to the teeth. They gave the order anyway, and 100 agents began to head to the compound. All the male Davidians came out to meet them, and the women and children hid inside. It's unclear who opened fire first, but the battle lasted 2 hours. 6 Davidians and 4 agents were killed during the battle. Koresh himself was wounded in the wrist and the hip, but refused medical treatment for himself or any of his followers. What a fucking asshole! What a fucking asshole!
Save my wives.
Yeah. He didn't even give a shit about them. To make matters worse, the feds never communicated their intentions with local law enforcement, who could act as a mediator between the two parties. Koresh himself, at one point during the gunfire, dialed 911 and asked that the agents stop firing. While on the phone, Koresh began to preach and talk about the 7 seals while shots were being fired around. So yeah, there's actual
listen to your proof.
There's content online. They call in David Koresh. David Koresh, you can hear gunfire in the background, and he's like, "And the Lord will rapture."
It's funny, the government's after them, so he calls the government and says, "Hey, can you help me out with this? Y'all wives will be off the table. I got you."
Oh, by the way, is your wife hot? Could you send me a picture?
So someone sent the USPS.
The FBI
hasn't worked out for me.
The FBI negotiators actually gave this the perfect name. They called this Bible Babble.
It sounds like Bible Man.
Well, it's similar.
Still with the cheesy verses, just no like
the Mighty Men and Bible Babble. The Mighty Men and Little Koresh with Bible Babble.
Bible Battle and the Bible Belt.
Oh yeah, that's part of the Bible Belt, all right.
Definitely.
So he told the negotiators that he knew that He told the negotiators that he knew that they would be coming for 4 years. He said that it was a prophecy from Scripture, and that he was readying his followers for the opening of the 7 seals and the end of the world. This came as a self-fulfilling prophecy for Koresh's followers, and to them was proof that he was right all along.
They're just so stupid because this dude is, even though he's an idiot, can go, okay, I'm doing illegal shit. They're eventually going to come after me. But they didn't see that. They're just like, he's prophetic instead of he's pathetic.
Well, you know from like global warming legislation and the ability, if people think God will take care of everything, and people think that all they have to worry about is the afterlife, then they don't take care of what they have. So,
well, I think David Koresh kind of built up for disappointment.
Yeah. Oh, well, he was disappointed with everyone.
Yeah, lived his life as Vernon. He knows disappointment. Spread the word.
I'm Vernon Howe. So, yeah, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, he builds up arms, and eventually the FBI gets wind of it, that he's doing illegal shit, and they come and raid him, and then tells his followers that that's the end of days. Which is pretty convenient on his part. The raid brought national attention for Koresh, and he saw this as an opportunity to get the word out about the Bible and the 7 seals and the end of the world. He would call in the news stations and into CNN with more Bible babble.
I bet they're just eating this up like, we got insider right now. All right, David Koresh, what are you seeing? Oh, just hit me in the head. Shit's going all right.
So on March 1st, President Bill Clinton was given classified updates and urged the ATF and FBI to come to a peaceful resolution with the Davidians and negotiate with Koresh. Look, I understand that he likes pussy, and I understand because I also like pussy, but this has got to end.
Just let him get what he wants. Let me get what I want.
I'll tell you what, David. I'll send you a picture of your wife, and you send me a picture of one of mine. I'm going to go in with Monica and eat pizza right now. Anyone got a cigar?
If you need me, I'll be going to the desk.
So on March 3rd, Koresh said that he would negotiate his surrender at the compound as long as that he was able to preach through a live feed on the Christian Broadcast Network. The FBI did this, and then Koresh told them that God had just talked to him and changed his mind. What a fucking asshole this guy is. You try to do shit, and then he's just like, nope, God, wait, oh, God's speaking to me, and he does not want me to do that. He specifically does not want me to do that. Did you hear God? No, I heard God.
Someone played on the teeter-totter too much as a kid.
Oh, well, it's a voice, all right. It's just not God. So this pissed off the FBI. and they started.
I wonder why.
I know.
We're giving him what he wants, and he's still.
Oh, you know that they were sitting there in the library like, I want to fucking kill this guy. I just want to rip his goddamn throat.
Right. Before he gets my wife and my gun.
So the FBI started talking about just filling the compound with tear gas to end the siege. On March 5th, 1993, 9-year-old Heather Jones came out of the compound with a note pinned to her jacket. It said, "Once the children have left the compound, the adults will die." This led the FBI to believe that the Davidians would commit mass suicide. The FBI did not want people to die or for Koresh to become a martyr. The Davidians also had enough food for a year and enough ammo to last a lifetime, so they knew that they had to bend his will in another way.
They all must have been Boy Scouts of America.
I know.
They knew how to prep.
These guys, but no joke, these guys, they had stockpiles of fucking ammunition. It was amazing how much ammunition they had. And they had a lot of food, They had generators. It's kind of amazing how much money that the gun trafficking was bringing in for the group.
Right.
And the crazy part is the gun trafficking itself was not necessarily illegal. It was the other stuff that David was doing. So the FBI began to come up with other ways to annoy David. They cut off power sporadically to the compound. Then they would shine a bright light at night while they were sleeping to interrupt their sleep cycle. Then they began playing loud music and annoying sounds, including the sounds of rabbits being slaughtered.
I could say that bright light's actually kind of bright.
Yeah. But have you ever heard of a sound of like a rabbit screaming? It's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it's
shoot. We live in Texas.
Yeah, rabbits scream all the time here for a variety of reasons.
Especially if they're 12.
God damn it. Oh.
Too soon?
Oh, no. God. So on March 19th, Koresh released 12 people. And then 2 days later, another 2 people came out. Most of these people did not want to leave. They wanted to stay and die with Koresh. But he had asked them to leave instead. We don't want to leave. We want to stay with you. We don't want to go. No, it's okay. You can leave. Your wife's not hot.
You're not one of the many.
So as they left, the Branch Davidians said that the agents flipped them off and mooned them as they exited the compound.
Mistakes were made all around. Might as well just season it off.
I don't know. I'm on the cop side on this. Fuck these people.
Right? I mean, if you try to follow your demands, you backpedaled. You're gonna get a face full of ass.
Yeah, he's a fucking douchebag. He doesn't keep his word, and I could see where they would kind of be irritated after a while about it.
I bet half the local enforcement was going, man, they used to make really good meth. Whatever happened with that?
So, So on April 1st, Koresh got in touch with his attorneys, who begged him to surrender and fight the battle in court. He said that he would surrender after Passover on April 5th. As April 5th came and went, Koresh said that God had talked to him, and then he changed his mind again.
This is the penultimate tease.
What a fucking asshole this guy is. Because like FBI guys, they're all like rigid and like they have a timetable and they just tell them.
Get ready, it's almost over.
It's over.
Fuck, he changed his mind again.
No, God told me something different. Fuck this guy.
Look up to him. Really, God? Really?
So over the next few days, Koresh continued to do more interviews on TV where he mentioned the 7 seals. Shut the fuck up about those goddamn 7 seals.
Hey, at least he doesn't change his mind on something.
Just good newscaster.
You expect him to go, wait, I was wrong. There's 8 seals.
So, the ATF and now the FBI wanted to raid the building with tear gas. They were fed up. They wanted it over. Janet Reno, the Attorney General, did not want children to be exposed to the tear gas, and urged the ATF and FBI to continue waiting out for more negotiations. On April 17th, a Davidian held up a sign that said, "Flames await." On April 19th, after a 51-day standoff, the FBI prepared to go back in. They used a combat CEV, which is a combat engineering vehicle, and it was equipped with a battering ram to get in. So they weren't fucking around. They got a goddamn tank.
The Davidians probably had it too.
Yeah, well, they don't have anything like that, but, you know, if that was legal, they would absolutely try to acquire it.
Yeah, because legality always stopped them to begin with.
Well, I know, right? Well, so the CEV has a battering ram attached to it, and it starts just pummeling the fucking building. After an hour into the invasion of the compound, a fire broke out. And no one knows for sure who started the fire, but based on audio that the FBI had on bugs in the compound, it's highly likely that the Davidians started the fire. So I looked up the story. So when they were doing the negotiations, they actually, the Davidians wanted milk for the children. So the FBI sent it to them, but they put bugs in the milk cartons. So they were hearing all the shit they were saying in the basement. And when the raid happened, they heard the Davidians talk about starting a fire. So it's pretty likely that the Davidians were the ones that started the fire, especially with, you know, everything that led up to it and the fact that they wanted to die in the first place.
Yeah.
When all was said and done, 79 Branch Davidians were dead, including 22 children. Koresh was found dead of a gunshot wound to the head. No one knows if he killed himself or if one of the agents did it or if one of the other Davidians did it as a mercy killing. The ATF and FBI received a lot of criticism from the media, from Congress, and especially from the far right.
What if it was just one guy going, "I want my Barbara back," and like just takes him out?
Well, so they did this, and it's like when this came out, and you know, there's still a little bit to this day. They seem to overlook the fact that Koresh was fucking children. He was a gun owner, but he was also fucking children. So it's like they don't seem to understand that that's really the ATF went in there and they did lie about their intentions, but they went in there to stop the guns and the child abuse they felt was child abuse. So yeah, they did receive a lot of criticism. Some of it was warranted. ATF made a lot of mistakes. The ATF, so the Davidians, some Davidians did come out of the burning building. Not all of them died in the fire, but most did. The Davidians who made it out received sentences ranging from 2 to 40 years in prison. But as of 2007, all surviving Davidians have been released. The far right accused an out-of-control government agency, the ATF, of infringing on the Davidians' religious freedom and Second Amendment rights, which again is just total fucking bullshit because they had a lot of guns, they were buying grenades, and there's reports of child abuse in the compound. So the Waco siege ultimately was the motivation for Tim McVeigh to bomb the federal building in Oklahoma City. In fact, he did it exactly 2 years later on April 19th, 1995. To this day, far-right militia groups cite Waco as an example of government overreach and the incident as a massive conspiracy theory. On January 23rd, 2009, Koresh's mother, Bonnie, was stabbed to death by her sister in Chandler, Texas.
Well, shit.
Yeah, so I just put that in at the end. It didn't have anything to do with it. I just thought it was interesting.
It was like, you shall not have another.
It just ended her fucking gene pool. Like, and her own sister did it to her, so. So, did you know a lot of the details of that story, or did you just kind of hear vague remnants of it? Or, I mean, you weren't alive when this happened.
Yeah, but a while back I saw a documentary about Dave Koresh, but I totally forgot his original name. So I was in the dark a little bit. The moment you said Waco, I put two and two together, and I knew about the guns, but not to that extent. I knew about the kids, but again, not to that extent.
Right, yeah.
But I knew about the whole siege and
so
ATF doing whatever they could.
They just did a 6-part documentary about this, and it was on, I forget what channel it's on, but the problem I have is they humanize.
I remember seeing it's called like Waco.
Right? Yeah, they humanized Koresh, but the problem is Koresh was a child molester, and
through and through.
That really can't be denied. And
so you're right; they still kind of overlooked that fact.
Yes. They see him as kind of a weird hippie, kind of a gun nut, maybe, like a militia group. But that's not what the Davidians were. He was a cult leader, and he was hiding behind religion, and he was a pedophile. So, anybody who's listening and may disagree with the fact that Koresh was an absolute and complete piece of shit human being. There's a story that was submitted by one of his former compound companions, and she said that Koresh was trying to have sex with an 11-year-old at the compound, and he noticed he couldn't penetrate. So he told the 11-year-old girl, who's not starting her period and did not have menstrual cycles, to start inserting tampons into her vagina so that he could penetrate her more easily. So if anybody out there had any reservations about how David Koresh was this misunderstood, misanthropic, weird individual, that they can just, put that to fucking bed, because the guy was just a piece of shit human being. Yeah. And I think that's what he should be remembered as. But anyway, I ended that on a fucking down note.
Religion! It's so funny because
coming to a town near you.
All of this started because of the Bible. Mm-hmm. Like, he read it as a kid.
It's just never good.
And it's
never good, is it? I don't mind religion in and of itself, but if you can't, question things going on around you.
You shouldn't murder, you shouldn't steal, but it's just nothing about kids.
Well, yeah, pedophilia is not actually in the Ten Commandments, which is, neither is slavery. And you don't really think about that sometimes. But,
But it's still really immoral.
Yeah, so this episode is pretty fucked up, wasn't it?
It really
the whole
was.
thing. Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah. Once I figured it was Koresh, I knew that this is gonna.
It's never.
This is gonna be an adventure.
Yeah, I didn't really have the giggles as much in this episode because it's depressing. The whole thing.
Some of this is you laugh at it and then you're like, that was kind of fucked for me to laugh at.
Yeah, you do.
But you just laugh through the pain of.
Yeah.
The human genome almost.
Yeah, and that's what I don't like about documentaries like that. They make it less about who David Koresh was, and David Koresh could have stopped the whole thing at any time. He had absolute power, and he could have sent everyone out, but he didn't give a fuck about those people. He wanted to be a king.
Yeah, it's like that show Aquarius with David Chichovany or whatever, the Mulder.
You're right.
And it was a good show, but it just. They showed Charles Manson kind of as a psychopath, but not to the full extent that he was.
Right. Well, on that note, that was shit you didn't know. Branch Davidians. And we're signing off. Thanks.